The wagon didn't creak as it should have. It groaned, like it knew it was carrying trouble. When the wheels rolled to a stop in front of the Dry Willow post office, nobody moved. Men stood with arms crossed. Women clutched parasols they didn't need. The sun was out, but something colder had come with the dust. A figure stepped down. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, maybe more, broad-shouldered, hat low, coat worn thin. Skin dark as wet soil, eyes steady as stone. His boots hit the ground like they belonged here. But every pair of eyes said they didn't. He didn't speak. The driver gave a nervous nod. Says his name's Israel. Mail order fella. That word, mail order, turned to poison in the air. A woman gasped. A man spit. Someone muttered a prayer. The bride wasn't there. Israel Booker looked around, slow and silent. He scanned the crowd like a soldier used to threats. He wasn't armed. Didn't need to be. The weight he carried was heavier than any gun. His hand went to his pocket, letters, folded and worn, still smelling faintly of cedar and lavender. He had come because she asked him to. "She ain't comin'," someone said. A boy giggled, but his mother smacked him. Israel said nothing. He just looked toward the church. Sheriff Jed Creighton walked out from the general store. Thumbs hooked in his belt, jaw clenched tight. "You got the wrong town," he said flatly. "Ain't no one here sent for you." Israel's voice, when it finally came, was smooth and slow, but unshakable. "She did." Jed shifted his boots. "Ain't no girl gonna stand beside a man like you, not here." "I didn't ask the town," Israel said. "I answered her." A pause. One heartbeat. Then the preacher came forward, robe flapping like a scarecrow. He tore the registry page from the post and let it flutter to the dirt. "That ain't a marriage we'll bless. We bury sin, son, not parade it." Someone laughed. Israel didn't. His eyes followed the paper as it danced in the wind, then settled against a fence post. He bent, picked it up, and folded it with care. "That's not your name on it," he said. The preacher turned red. Jed stepped closer. "You want to live, you walk back the way you came. We're peaceable folk, unless pushed." Israel glanced past him, toward a narrow window on the second floor of the Mercantile. A curtain moved. Just a flutter, quick as a blink. But he saw her. Pale fingers clutching the sill. Auburn hair in a single braid. Eyes like trapped birds. She saw him too. That night, Israel slept in the livery, curled near the warmth of the horse he'd fed with his own coins. He could still smell blood on the boards. Someone had slit the reins. Left a message, "Not welcome," scratched into the wall with a blade. He didn't flinch. He read her letter again. The second one, the one where she wrote, "They say I don't belong to anyone. Maybe that's why I want you. Someone who understands." Her handwriting was crooked. The ink had bled, but the words cut clear. Meanwhile, up on the hill, Odessa Wynne sat cross-legged on her attic floor. The rest of the house was asleep, or pretending to be. Her mother had called her a fool. Her sisters had turned their backs. They still believed marriage was a market, not a promise. She'd lit no candle. But the moonlight caught her skin as she unwrapped a faded scarf, his letters inside, still warm from her breath. She'd memorized every line, but she read them again. "I ain't soft, but I know kindness. I don't offer wealth, but I won't raise a hand unless it's to build." Her fingers shook. She wanted to open the door. To run barefoot down that ridge and say, "I see you. I still choose you." But the town had eyes. She remembered the preacher's words last winter. "Some people are born under storms. Don't marry into thunder unless you want to burn." She had thunder in her heart now. Below, in the alley beside Widow Tolliver's bakery, someone hissed. A boy, barely 12, tugged Israel's coat. "Don't sleep here," the boy whispered. "They're saying things." Israel looked at him. "You scared?" The boy hesitated, then nodded. Israel handed him the folded registry. Hold on to that for me." The boy took it. He didn't understand why, but he ran, clutching it like gold. Later, a dog howled. A gun was cocked somewhere in the dark. But no shot came. Israel closed his eyes. The earth was hard beneath him, the stars sharp like judgment. From the attic window, Odessa watched him until dawn. She didn't cry, but her lips moved with a promise no one heard. "I ain't gonna hide forever." The next morning, she came down the stairs, hair still braided, boots half-laced. She stepped past her mother's cold stare, past the uneaten biscuits, past the rules stitched into every curtain and rug. She stepped into the wind, and walked toward him. The bakery door creaked as Widow Tolliver stepped out with a pail of ashes, her eyes narrowing against the wind. Across the street, Israel stood with his coat flapping behind him, nailing up loose boards on the side of the church stable. No one had asked him to. No one thanked him either. He didn't need thanks. Only a place to stand. Odessa watched him from behind the post office shutters. She had crept out before sunup, leaving behind a half-made bed and a prayer whispered into the quilt. Her heart beat fast and high in her throat. Every nail he drove into the wall echoed like a warning inside her chest. He worked like the land owed him nothing, and he still chose to stay. People passed him without a word. One man bumped his shoulder hard and muttered, "Better be gone by Sunday." Israel didn't flinch. He kept hammering. Behind the general store, Sheriff Jed chewed his tobacco and narrowed his eyes. "Fixing fences don't make him welcome," he muttered to no one in particular. "Snake can patch a hole, still bites." Odessa ducked lower. Later that day, a bucket of slop was left where Israel worked. No spoon, no thanks. He took it, ate slow. No pride, but no shame either. He just looked at the sky between each bite, like he'd learned to measure mercy in inches. Odessa's mother found her watching from the loft that night. "You're still thinking about that mistake?" Odessa didn't answer. Her mother slammed the door so hard, the candle flickered out. The next morning, the town's only mule dropped dead in the middle of Main Street. No one moved it. Just buzzed about how things were going wrong since he came. A pipe burst at the schoolhouse. A child cut her foot on glass. A man's cornmeal went sour. They blamed him. Of course they did. Israel stayed quiet. He helped Widow Tolliver fix her fence. Hauled water to the church. Buried the mule. No one thanked him. The land did, though. Rain came soft that night. Odessa watched it all. She memorized the way he tied rope. How he turned his shoulder against cruelty but never backed away. There was something noble about his silence, like thunder waiting for the right moment. One evening, she left a folded quilt on the porch of the widow's bakery where Israel now slept. She didn't sign her name, but she tucked a pressed flower into the seam, Wild Yarrow, for courage. The next day, he wore it over his shoulders while hauling timber. Odessa's hands trembled when she saw him. She didn't expect what happened next. Sheriff Jed gathered 3 men behind the saloon. Odessa hid near the crates of flour and listened. "We scare him," Jed said. "Just enough to make him understand. No blood. Just noise." The men nodded, though one looked away, uneasy. Odessa's fists clenched. Later, Israel walked home under a blue-gray sky. He didn't see them step from the alley until the first fist hit. He didn't hit back. They shoved him to the ground, poured sour milk on his back, called him names Odessa had only heard in church warnings. Still, he didn't fight. He waited for the storm to pass. It did. Odessa's heart burned as she watched from the shadows. She wanted to run to him, to scream, to pull her father's old hunting knife from the attic and do something. But her feet wouldn't move. That night, she sat by her window with the moonlight pale on her skin. She unwrapped the last of his letters. The one she hadn't dared open until now. "If you still want me, I'll still come. But if fear wins, I'll understand. I've spent too long learning to walk alone." She stared at the words until they blurred. By morning, she'd made her choice. She walked barefoot down to the livery, braid hanging low, rifle slung over her shoulder. Not loaded, but she knew the look was what mattered. He was feeding a lame horse. She stood behind him for a long moment. He didn't turn. "I saw," she said. He kept brushing the horse. "I was supposed to be braver," she added. "But I've been watching from the attic. Like a coward." He stopped, turned. His eyes didn't hold judgment, just silence. "I don't want to watch anymore," she whispered. The wind shifted. She stepped closer. "They'll hate me. Maybe worse." "They already do," he said quietly. She looked up. "So why do you stay?" He paused. "Because someone here saw me first." Odessa's breath hitched. Then, from behind the church, a rifle clicked. A shadow moved. Israel pushed her behind the stable post in one breath. His body shielded hers. But no shot came. Only the sound of boots fading. Israel's voice was soft now. "You don't have to choose this." "I already did." And she reached for his hand in the dark. The sky broke open with rain on the morning she walked beside him. Odessa's hand stayed wrapped in Israel's as they passed the crooked hitching posts and shuttered windows. No one spoke. Even the saloon girls stayed inside, curtains barely parted, eyes filled with something between pity and fear. They didn't run. They walked. Slowly, as if the land needed time to understand what it was seeing. He wore the stitched coat she'd mended. She wore her father's boots, too big at the toe but loud enough on the wood planks to say, "I am not hiding anymore." The preacher saw them first. His face blanched, lips moving soundlessly before he turned and bolted back inside the chapel. Sheriff Jed didn't move. He sat on the church steps, shotgun across his lap like a sleeping dog. He chewed something bitter and spat without looking up. "You think walking like that makes you married?" "No," Israel said calmly. "We were married the moment she chose." Jed finally looked up. "You think the land's gonna honor that?" "No," Odessa answered. "But maybe it'll learn." He stood slowly, the barrel of the shotgun catching a gleam of wet morning light. His voice was low. "She was raised in this dirt. Her name's carved into that ledger. Yours ain't." Israel stepped forward. "Then carve mine." Jed smiled, a thin, joyless thing. From behind them came footsteps, fast and frantic. Widow Tolliver emerged, apron soaked with rain. "Stop this foolishness," she hissed, pulling Odessa's arm. "There are rules. You think you're stronger than stone." "No," Odessa whispered, shaking her off. "But fire doesn't need to be strong. It just needs to burn." The wind picked up. Jed raised the shotgun slightly. "You ready to let this end peaceful?" Israel didn't blink. "Peaceful for who?" Lightning cracked, close enough to taste. From the corner of the saloon, a small figure stepped out. It was the boy, the one who'd carried the registry. He held it up now, trembling but unafraid, paper-soaked but still whole. "I kept it," he said. Like he asked. Israel looked down at the boy. "Thank you." Jed's jaw worked like he wanted to grind the whole town to dust. "You think a scrap of paper matters?" "No," Israel said. "But a boy who keeps his word does." The preacher reappeared with trembling hands and a Bible tucked under his coat. "You want words spoken?" he asked, voice cracking. "Fine. But don't expect God to answer." Israel nodded. Odessa stood straighter. The ceremony took place in the middle of the street. No flowers. No pews. Only the wind and the boy and the preacher's voice trying not to shake. When he asked if Odessa would take this man, she didn't speak. She stepped forward, took Israel's face in her hands, and kissed him beneath the thunder. That was her answer. Jed turned, muttered something about hell and fools. The townsfolk didn't move, but eyes lingered. Not all of them hateful now. Some curious. A few stunned. Odessa and Israel walked away, arm in arm. They returned to the livery, to a stack of borrowed wood and a bed made from scrap canvas and hay. The storm passed. The sky broke open with silver light. For a while, they just sat there, saying nothing, letting the silence stretch, until a knock came. A hard one. Sheriff Jed didn't wait for an answer. He burst in, dragging a young man by the collar. The one who'd helped cut Israel's reins. "This boy here says you threatened him." Israel stood slowly. "He's lying." Jed's eyes were fire now. "Don't matter. The town's itching. I need blood to settle it." Odessa stepped forward. "You want mine." Jed's face twisted. "You really think that black coat'll protect you?" "No," she said. "But he will." The shotgun rose. Before anyone could speak, a second gun cocked behind Jed. It wasn't Israel. It was Widow Tolliver. "I buried 2 sons fighting a war that taught them to hate. I won't lose a town to the same fire." Jed turned. "You're siding with them?" "No," she said. "I'm siding with right." More doors opened. More footsteps. The stable boy. The preacher. A trapper from the hills. Even the barkeep. One by one, they stepped forward, silent, steady. Jed's hands shook. For the first time, he seemed small. Israel reached out and took Odessa's hand. "We ain't asking for your land," he said. "We're building something new on the edge of it." Jed backed away slowly. He didn't speak again. By nightfall, the air smelled like sage and smoke. Odessa and Israel lit a fire by the barn and boiled coffee over it. She curled into his side beneath the same quilt she once hid behind. "Think they'll ever call us family?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Then, with a voice soft as dusk, he said, "Maybe not. But we'll teach the next ones how." She smiled. "Let the fire burn where it chooses." And it did. Which city are you watching our video from? Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you.